The Boys Market was a grocery store chain that started in 1924 and changed names in 1990. Samuel Goldstein and his wife Sarah immigrated from Russia to the United States in the early 1900s. They settled in Ipswich, Massachusetts, where they raised 7 children, 5 sons and 2 daughters. Samuel would move his family to Illinois briefly and then move out to California in 1915, where they settled in the Boyle Heights area of Los Angeles. In the early 1920s, Samuel would pass away unexpectedly, leaving the large family fatherless, with a mother too ill to care for them. To support the family, the oldest son, Joe, was only 14 at the time, and his brothers Max, Eddie, Bunny, and Al began selling oranges from a corner stand on Telegraph Road and peddling groceries door to door from a push cart. All the neighbors affectionately referred to their corner stand as the Boys Market, named, of course, after the Goldstein boys. Around 1924, the Goldstein brothers opened a grocery store at that location on Telegraph Road. Joe's brother, Bernard, quit school at the age of 16 to work full-time, and the other brothers pitched in before and after school. The boys broke ground for an original full-service store, their second store, located at Monte Vista Street and Avenue 55 in Highland Park in 1931. That market later served as the company's headquarters through the 1980s. During the Depression, the brothers worked 16 to 20 hours a day to make ends meet. As the story goes, Bernard often was too tired to walk home and slept on sugar sacks in the back room. The business was incorporated about 1936 and was privately held. Boys Markets focused on densely populated urban neighborhoods where a specialized knowledge of consumer tastes and preferences allowed the company to serve customer needs. Based in Los Angeles, California, Boys Markets became a leading regional supermarket chain in the Los Angeles metropolitan area. Boys' policies of marketing to ethnic communities evolved slowly through the decades and then became a full-blown strategy around 1980. In 1978, Peter Sodini was named president of the company. By the time Sodini was brought in, the family-run company had stopped adding locations and was losing out in the numbers game to larger chains that got first crack at choice sites, particularly in the fast-growing suburbs. About the only places available were urban spots that had been passed over by others. So the Boys Market made the decision about 1980 to concentrate on the urban areas which other chains were forsaking. We took what was offered and went on extensive remodeling programs, Sodini said in an interview. We recognized that there was tremendous population growth. We concluded that if you're going to be successful, you have to run stores comparable in quality to those in suburbia. Demographics would indicate that Boys is now clearly aligned with the growth segment, which is Hispanic, Sodini said. More and more of the locations that at one time were predominantly black now had significant Latino populations, he said. The Compton store, for example, which had served primarily black customers, now sells to a mix that is about 50% Latino, he said. Since 1980, the population of Los Angeles County alone has grown nearly 10% to more than 8.1 million, with Latinos accounting for perhaps 70% of that growth, according to reports cited by the Boys. Each The Boys Market store catered to a different community that it served. For example, at a market on Pacific Boulevard in heavily Latino Huntington Park, the accent is on the 25-pound bags of La Piña flour, containers of masa harina, and votive candles with festive piñatas overhead. In Koreatown store at 8th Street and Western Avenue, shoppers browsed displays of dried fish, Japanese beer, sake, and soy sauce, many with signs in English, Spanish, Korean, and Japanese. At a grocery 100 yards from moored yachts in Marina del Rey, customers prepare their own takeout meals at a salad bar and buy sushi to go, while patrons at 103rd and Compton and Watts stroll aisles stocked with black-eyed peas in bulk and a large variety of pork products. What was noteworthy about those 4 seemingly unrelated stores is that they all operated under the Boys Markets. which was at the time a Highland Park company that had built a successful mini empire in the minority neighborhoods of Southern California that most major competitors had abandoned or ignored. The merchandise in each Boys store was geared toward the taste of the particular area, usually with the emphasis on fresh produce, ethnic items, and nationally advertised brands. Managers were given particularly broad latitude to order products that would appeal to shoppers in their areas. Of its 43 stores, about 35% were in Black, Latino, and Asian neighborhoods. With the exception of the Pomona store in San Bernardino County, all stores were in Los Angeles County. By 1986, the chain had 45 stores. The Boys Market did have its share of criticism. In a few communities, particularly Watts, some residents contend that the company exploited them by charging higher prices, and a Southern California consumer group appeared to prove that Boys' prices were indeed higher than most other chains. Because of these higher prices, Boys is not my store of choice. They are my store of convenience, said Barbara Thomas, a leader of the South Central Organizing Committee, a grassroots organization of urban residents in areas such as Watts. However, of the 8 major grocery chains in the Los Angeles area, Boys had the largest pricing variation within its own stores, with Watts shoppers paying a particularly high premium. Of 4 Boys stores surveyed, the San Fernando location had the lowest price. A market basket of goods costing $100 at that store would have a cost of $100.34 in El Monte, $101.94 at the Marina del Rey store, and $107.17 at 103rd and Compton. Boys management defended its pricing policy, maintaining that the company's costs were high because of security, theft, and liability suits. In a high-crime area, costs will be substantially higher if you're going to provide the environment shoppers want, Sadini said. The company wasn't inclined to spread such high costs throughout the chain. A number of Boys locations were open 24 hours a day, and like most other inner-city retail outlets, were staffed with full-time security guards and equipped with electronic surveillance devices to detect theft of such items as cigarettes and liquor. Of the 4,200 employees, 60% were Black, Latino, Asian, and other minorities. Among the 100 mid to upper management personnel in the corporate office, 21 were Latino, and 13 were Black. The Goldstein family owned the company until April of 1986, when a leveraged buyout by management and an investment firm of Reardon, Freeman, and Spogley. The remaining Goldstein family members departed after a squabble with the new owners. Reardon, Freeman, and Spogley, a Los Angeles merchant banking firm, and Boys Management purchased Boys in April of 1986 for $83 million. And then paid $16 million to buy and convert 8 food company markets. In 1987, Boys Markets completed an initial public offering. The following year, they sold the chain to Breco Holdings in 1988. The company was operating 49 stores. A group led by American Breco Corporation, a Los Angeles company controlled by a wealthy Mexican family, purchased the grocery chain for $131 million. The Boys Market would peak at 55 stores. About 80% were in predominantly Asian, Black, or Latino neighborhoods in Los Angeles County. The rest were scattered in primarily Anglo communities, with a couple of newer locations catering to Santa Ana's Latino population. Some suburban store names were changed to Market Basket, evoking a prior SoCal chain with the same name that had only departed a few years earlier. The following year, 1989, Breco Holding Company was acquired, then called a merger, by Yucaipa Companies for $375 million. When Yucaipa Companies acquired the stores in 1989, the Boys name disappeared. A few stores still operated as the Boys as late as 1993. Then, the name faded into history. So what do you remember about this place? Leave a comment or a suggestion for a future video below. And if you haven't already, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Yeah.
Bringing back memories from the good old days. That's super cool, man.